We're here today with Judge Elisa Boerekamp of Mozambique, who is a High Court judge and also the director of the Judicial Training Institute of Mozambique.
So thank you very much to invite me in order to participate in this program. Well, my name is, I can say again, my name is Elisa Boerekamp now, and I'm a High Court judge, acting as a director of the Judicial Training Center for Mozambique, which in Portuguese is Centro de Formação Jurídica e Judiciária.
So at the Judicial Training Center, you conduct a lot of judicial trainings. Could you tell us about some challenges that you commonly experience conducting judicial trainings?
Yes. Well, first let me say that the Judicial Training Center of Mozambique do exist about 22 years. I'm the fifth director of the center, and it came into force because of the necessity of strengthening the judicial independence in Mozambique via a UNDP program. Before that, the training of judges was a challenge. It was challenging because it was made by the courts, and on that time, 20 years ago, we didn't have enough. We didn't have enough professional judges with a law background. So it was a challenge then, and that's why with the school now, with the center now, we conducted organized training. But the main challenging is that we don't have permanent trainers. As you know, it's a professional judicial training. It's essentially professional training, although we do conduct also multidisciplinary trainings. But what happens right now is that we don't have permanent trainers. Well, we do have judges and both prosecutors and judges who participate and they collaborate with the center in order to deliver a training for other judges, new appointed judges and judges in terms of continuous training.
Could you maybe just quickly tell us what kind of topics usually the trainings are on?
Well, we do have two kinds of trainings. Initial trainings to become a judge in Mozambique. You have to do this course during 1 year. So within the initial training, we do have the professionalized topics like procedural civil code and procedural penal, and also ethics and integrity, environmental law, women's gender and minors' rights, human rights. Right now we are working on integrate human rights, HIV, and gender-based violence within the curriculum. We also conduct trainings in the family law. So it's let's say within the initial training, those are the areas that we train our judges and prosecutors, and continuous training we use to train them. Let's say transversal topics like judicial integrity also within the continuous training. We train them also about human rights, alternative resolution, dispute resolution, mediation, let's say.
So I noticed you mentioned that you've incorporated training related to HIV and women's rights and these kinds of things. Is that just, could you maybe tell me a bit more about that?
Yes, principally in countries like civil law countries, there is a tradition of how we've been trained to become lawyers or judges or prosecutors and so on and so forth, and these kind of topics it was not used to be taught within the university, within the faculty of laws. So, but nowadays judges are facing these problems within their jurisdiction. So it's our duty as a Judicial Training Institute to develop, to strengthen capacity of the judges, but also to bring these new topics into training. So what we are doing right now, we do have in partnership, support of UNDP and also UNEP for environmental law, but mainly with UNDP and Global Fund. We are right now integrate the human rights and HIV issues within the curricula for training judges, both initial training and also continuous training.
So you mentioned that you don't have set trainers. I was wondering, have you also had difficulties finding accessible training resources that are in Portuguese? So I know a lot of international organizations have produced training materials, but they're usually in the UN languages,
Exactly.
for instance, not necessarily Portuguese.
Exactly. This is a big challenge also for us, because those are guidelines that we are using right now. Mozambique as a country has signed all the international and regional documents in terms of human rights treaties and other treaties, conventions, which are on top of the question right now in the world. And as you say, and as you mentioned it, all these instruments are in English or French or in Spanish as well. But what we do is we do self-translation sometimes.
Okay.
And I think it's important for us to do this way because of the terms, law terms. Sometimes it can be mistranslation, yeah. And but now with this support of an UNDP. We are working with consultants, mainly from Portugal or Brazil, and they of course they are using those guidelines, and it's a process that we are all part of the process. So it's easier to, even if it is to incorporate those guidelines in our, let's say, drafting the curricula. So it's the way that we found correct to do it, and to overcome the problems with the language. Yeah.
Yes, that's very smart. The Global Judicial Integrity Network has recently produced a training package, the Judicial Conduct and Ethics training package, which is going to be released in Portuguese soon. So what are your plans for the future, becoming a training site for this program?
This is a dream come true, I can say, because when Global Judicial Integrity begin with the program, we volunteer as a Judicial Training Center to be part of this process. So we do participate as a director of the center. I did participate in some interviews like I'm doing right now, sharing our experience as a country, as a Judicial Training Institute. And all this, it was made in English, and sometimes I had to come back to Mozambique from Vienna and to make the information available to other colleagues within the Judicial Center, or also within the Mozambican Judges Association, where I'm a part of this organization as well. So it was everything in English, and no documentation, support document that I can share with them. So now with this, even with the Bangalore principles,
right.
it's so great, and I take this opportunity to thank Brazil, because they really help us on translate the Bangalore principles, which is a very important tool to deal with the training, ethics and integrity training. So now in Portuguese, for us, it's going to be not only for Mozambique, but for the Lusophonic countries in Africa, like Angola, São Tomé, Guinea-Bissau, and Timor-Leste, but not in Africa. But it will be a very important tool for us to conduct the trainings. It's a support for the training, but also for judges to look at these instruments, to have them, for them to be part of the libraries, sort of say. Yes.
Use them as reference materials.
Exactly.
Yes. And for everyone listening, stay tuned for more episodes in the Global Judicial Integrity Network podcast series. Thank you.